So today's notes are going to be on how to work with standard form and change to slope-intercept form. So your handout that you should be working on is page 2, looks like this. So make sure you're on that. All right, so slope-intercept form is this form of an equation, y equals mx plus b, knowing that the m is the slope, the b is the y-intercept. So we call this slope-intercept form because it's obvious. We can see the slope and the y-intercept from just looking at the equation. So there's not really much to solve here. It's just identifying the two pieces. So on your handout, can you go ahead and fill in this little blank here and put the equation y equals mx plus b. So when it comes to the slope-intercept form of an equation, you can just quickly look at the equation. So what is the slope for this one? If you said 2, you're correct. What is the y-intercept? If you said 1, you are correct. So it's quick here. Now, what if I give you the equation like this? What is the slope? So in this case, it's not so easy because it's not in slope-intercept form. So I don't know what the slope is, and I do not know what the y-intercept is. All I know is I see a 5, a 2, and a 10, neither of which are the slope or the y-intercept. So how do I find the slope? It's not in y equals mx plus b. Is there a way to do it? Answer is, of course there is. There is a way to find the slope. And there are actually multiple ways to do it. I'm going to go over one way, is we can graph this equation and then count the slope, the rise over the run. So let's go ahead and do that. On your handout, you should have this equation, 5x plus 2y equal to 10. How do we find the intercepts? So we know how to graph these equations with the intercepts. Remember, the intercepts are on the y-axis or on the x-axis, and if we plug in the number 0, we'll have the intercepts. So for the x-intercept, I'm going to eliminate the y by plugging in a 0. 2 times 0 cancels. I'm left with 5x equal to 10. And if I divide both sides by 5, I get 2 as my x-intercept. So the line crosses the x-axis at 2, 0. Then I repeat the same process for the y-intercept. If you want to pause it and do it and then come back, that's fine. So again, that's where it goes. Y-intercept. Now I'm going to plug in the 0 for the x-intercept to eliminate the x and solve for the y-intercept. 5 times 0 cancels, 2y equal to 10. Divide both sides by 2 in order to solve for y, and y is equal to 5. My y-intercept is 0, 5. So it's at 5 on the y-axis. So these are my two intercepts. I can connect the line. But again, my goal was to find the slope. So I got the line graphed. I'm going to count the rise over the run. So starting at the intercept at 5, I'm going to count how many spots it goes down. And that is at 5. And I'm going to count the run, and I'm going to see how many spots across, which is 2. Now the 5 is negative because this line is decreasing. My run is 2 because it's positive. I'm going to the right. So therefore, my slope, which is what I was finding, is negative 5 over 2, or negative 5 halves. You may be asking yourself at this point, that's kind of a lot of work just to find the slope, when before I can just get it quickly from the other equation. So question is, those were a lot of steps to get the slope. Is there an easier way? And the answer is, yeah, kind of there is an easier way, but it still requires a little bit of work. It won't be as easy as it was in that previous example where it was just 2. So the best way to do it is to convert. So from standard form to slope-intercept form. So that last equation we just saw was in standard form, ax plus by equal to c, where a, b, and c are integers, meaning whole numbers. And we're going to manipulate the equation in standard form and change it to slope-intercept form, and we can look at our slope right away that way. So don't panic just yet. All we have to do is solve for y. So we have to take our equation on the left, manipulate it, move things around, and make it look like the equation on the right. So here are 2 steps. It's just 2. First step is to subtract ax on both sides. So we take the ax term and we move it from the left side and cancel, and move it over to the right side. Once that is done, we take everything and divide it by that b next to the y to get the y by itself. So move ax, divide by b. Those are the 2 steps that we need in order to convert from standard form to slope-intercept form, and then we'll know what the intercept is and the slope is right away. So here we go. Let's try number 1. Here's example number 1. 5x plus 7y equal to 14. We're going to go ahead and solve that. Remember our 2 steps. Subtract ax and then divide everything by b. So I have my 4x. It's positive. I'm going to do the opposite, and the opposite is to subtract. Notice that I put my minus 4x on the right side away from the 14 and not under the 14. Let's think about why did I do that. Now, if you're thinking that the reason I put it separate is because it doesn't combine with the 4x, that's the reason why. I don't want to accidentally put it underneath and then subtract 14 and 4x, because that's kind of what I'm used to. So I'm putting it separately because they don't combine. The 14 has no x and the 4x has an x, so they do not combine. That's why I kind of separated them. Now I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the 4x on the left. And when that 4x eliminates, remember I can go ahead and always do the following. It's not animated, so I'll just write it in. I am allowed to cross out the 4x's. And I'm going to bring down my 7y. I'm going to bring down my equal sign. I'm going to bring down my 14, and I'm going to bring down the minus 4x. Now, instead of doing it this way, I'm actually going to erase this. Because I'm going to slope-intercept form, I'm actually going to write these backwards because I want the slope first and then the y-intercept term last. So I'm already pre-organizing these so they can be in the correct order. Now, if they're backwards, it's okay. It's no big deal, but I'm just putting them in this order because it's more beneficial to me in the long term. So let's go ahead and keep going here. So I get 7y equal to negative 4x plus 14. Now step number 2 is divide everything by the by. So the b next to the y, or in this case, I'm going to be dividing by this 7 right here. So I'm going to divide everything by 7, and I mean everything, all 3 parts. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to put my division sign. Divide by 7, divide by 7, divide by 7. So you can do one giant division on the right, or you can do 2 separate little ones. I'm just going to do 2 separate little ones. It just makes it a little easier not to forget to divide everything by 7. The 7's cancel on the left, and we're left with y equal to negative 4/7 x plus, not 3, that should be a 2. That's a typo. So let me go ahead and correct that. So this should be a 2 right here. So we get y equals negative 4/7 x plus 2. So that's the end of the first example. Let's go ahead and work on number 2. Same process. So start again. We're going to move over the x term from the left side to the right side. So opposite of negative x is positive x. Notice again I separated it from the 18, so they won't combine. So now I bring down my 6y, I bring down the equals, the 18 plus x, but I'm going to flip them over. So I get 6y equal to x plus 18. Now I'm going to do step 2, which is divide everything by y. Remember, my whole goal is to get the y by itself. So divide everything by 6. 6 is cancel on the left, so I'm left with the y. Remember, there's an invisible 1 in front of the x, so my fraction is going to be 1/6 plus 18 divided by 6, which is going to give me 3. So my answer is y equals 1/6x plus 3. Now I know the slope is 1/6. It's a lot faster than doing the intercepts and having to graph it and count. Let's go to the last example now. This last example, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm changing the instructions a little bit. I'm going to be asked to convert the equation to slope-intercept form, which is switch it to the other form. I'm going to be identifying the slope, the y-intercept, and the x-intercept. So I'm going to identify all the parts to this. So start off by switching it around. First step is to get the y by itself, which is move the x term to the right. So opposite of subtracting 2x is adding 2x. Noticing again that I'm separating the 2x from the 24, so I won't accidentally combine them. Bring it all down, switch the x and the 2x and the 24. So I get 4y equals 2x minus 24. Notice I did not forget that negative in front of that 24. Now get the y by itself by dividing by 4. Everything gets divided by 4. And I'm left with y equals 2 divided by 4. I can actually reduce this fraction. I'm going to divide these by 2. So I'm going to get 1/2. And then 4 into 24 is 6. So that is actually animated backwards. So let me go ahead and just do this by hand then. So we have y equals 1/2 x minus 6. So let's go ahead and do the slope. The slope would be right here. That's my slope, and this is my y-intercept. So there they are. I have my information. So my slope is going to be half. My y-intercept is going to be -6. Let's not forget those signs. Now for the x-intercept, I need to make sure that I plug in the number 0. So this equation right here does not give me the x-intercept, so I need to manually figure it out, which means I need to plug in the 0 myself. So I need to plug in a 0 for the y value. So you have the choice. You can plug in the 0 on this equation, or you can plug in the 0 on that equation. You will get the same answer regardless. So I think it's actually maybe a little easier to plug it into the original equation, but I'll do it on the second equation. And then if you guys, and now afterwards do both equations actually. So let's just do both. So I'm going to go ahead and do that then. So I'm going to just clear this out and start again from here. So my equation was the following. Actually, I'm doing it on the first one here. So it's going to be -2x plus 4 times 0. Remember, I want to make the y the 0 because I want to solve for x, so I don't want to eliminate the x. Those eliminate. I'm left with -2x equal to -24. And if you divide by -2, you get 12. So my x-intercept is at 12. So here's the stuff that went away by accident. Now, if you wanted to do it the other way, let's say you wanted to plug in the 0 on the other term, you could have done it on the slope-intercept equation. You could have plugged in the 0 there instead. So I'll do that quickly. You could have plugged in the 0 here. You would have gotten the same thing. Actually, it would be a little bit more work, but still would work. You can add the 6 to the other side. 6 is equal to -12x. Opposite of multiplying, the opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2 on both sides. The half cancels with a 2. And since I have that negative, we actually want to multiply it by -2.